What is up? Welcome to MyFi. Glad that you are listening. Man, had a great conversation today with David Ramirez. You're going to love it. But before we get all, into the stuff, just want to say welcome and hit subscribe wherever you're at. Apple, Stitcher, Google, YouTube. Go subscribe on YouTube. I would love to see that happen. It's really cool to watch the podcast. I think there's some good interaction. So go subscribe on YouTube, watch it on YouTube, follow us on social at MyFi Podcast everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, there's a Facebook page, all the things. If you're watching on YouTube, you see I got a MyFi hat on. We actually put these on Instagram this week. They sold out in less than 24 hours, but we're doing a giveaway for the last one. It's not the one I'm wearing. Don't worry. It's not been worn. I'll throw a sticker in there with it. Would love to get you to go enter the giveaway. You just go over to at MyFi Podcast on Instagram. The post is pinned there at the top. We're actually doing it in conjunction with our friends at Wonder Creations Embroidery out on the West Coast. They do all our merch and all the rules and what you need to do. They're in the post. So just go to Instagram at MyFi Podcast, enter the giveaway, and you can win the last black MyFi logo hat that we have available right now. So, let's get into it. All right. Yes. Great conversation today with David Ramirez, singer-songwriter from Austin, Texas, and we will get into all of that. But I'm glad you're here. I want to have a conversation really quickly. I saw a show last week. I saw David Gray, British singer-songwriter. If you're not familiar with his stuff, you should be. He's pretty great, really great. In fact, I saw him years ago. Saw him again last week with my wife. It was really great, and it was really great. And it got me thinking about my favorite live concert experiences that I've ever had, and it was up there, David Gray, for me last week. Didn't make the top three, and I kind of just wanted to mention my top three. And if you're watching on YouTube or whatever, or you go over to our socials and you want to talk about it, I'll put a post up this week where we can talk about this a little bit in the comments. But I would love to know what yours are, your favorite 3, 4, 5, I don't care, concerts, live music experiences that you've ever had. For me, I'll tell you what they are, and I don't think these are in order. Maybe I could put them in order if I think about it. But back in November, I'm gonna go backwards in time. So the most recent of my favorite 3 concerts I've ever seen was back in 2019. It was the December before the world stopped for a year or two or whatever, and I saw Tobe and Wee at the Masquerade here in Atlanta. It was amazing. He's a rapper from Houston, Texas, Southwest Houston, I believe, to be specific. Unreal. His videos and stuff are crazy, but this show, here's what I loved about it. So we had a few openers. New Respects was opening. Oh man, unfortunately I can't remember any of the other openers, but they were great. There was 3 openers in Tobe, if I remember correctly. And in between the different artists, this DJ was just killing it. It was like the best 90s and 00s hip hop stuff. It was just the place was going crazy. I've got videos on my phone of me and my 3 buddies that went, and it was just a huge party. And so Tobe was amazing. His band was amazing. Dancers, it was just a show. If you go look him up on YouTube and go watch his stuff, amazing stuff. Live, it was just so intense and so great. And then the DJ, I don't even know who it was, but whatever they were doing was just making the vibe. So that was a killer show. My second of my 3 favorite, I saw Wilco at the Sanger Theater in Mobile, Alabama. I think it was 2011, 2012, something like that. I took my friend Wes. It was his birthday. We were in this sandwich shop, and the people who owned the shop, we were eating dinner before the show, they weren't going to the show and they had tickets. And so they gave us their tickets, which were better than our seats. And we ended up front row balcony. And the mix, the audio, the sound was just amazing. It was just one of those magical Wilco nights. If you've ever seen Wilco, they're just fantastic. And there was something about that night. I don't know, man, they were just amazing. And I remember that show forever. It was really great. And you should, if you don't listen to Wilco or you don't know who I'm talking about, you should just go listen to Wilco too. And then lastly, this is hard to top, to be honest. I don't know. I've seen some shows that were impactful to me. And therefore I love them. But at the same time, I'm trying to narrow this down. So my favorite, like, show that I've probably ever seen. My wife and I went to New York City in 2005 and saw U2 at Madison Square Garden, and we ended up like front row, like it was the Vertigo tour. I think they had like this circle, and we were like on that circle. So they were like coming by, and it was, it was Madison Square Garden. There's all these famous people there, and they keep shouting them out and all that. And then it's New York City, it's U2, it's Madison Square Garden. We're front row. It was just, I don't know. It was just amazing. And I remember afterwards, I stuffed my face with McDonald's. It was awesome. So yeah, I'll do a post on social this week. You can put your favorite concerts in there. That'd be pretty dope for us to talk about that. Yeah. I want to talk about record of the week. I always like to mention a record. This is my record of the week. And I'm going to grab it real quick. Waited for this record for quite some time. And actually, I'm recording this on August 18th. It's going to release on the 19th, Friday. So you're hearing this on Friday or after August 19th. They just posted another Atlanta show, this band, and I'm hoping to score some tickets. But I'm holding up the record from last year by Turnstile. This is from 2021. Glow On. It's the name of this record. I don't think I caught wind of this until 2022, though. I was a little late on Turnstile. Punk, alternative, I don't even know where to put them. It really is like just amazing. I waited on this a while because this record sold out, and they came on the website, on their website, on like Turnstile's website, and I bought it there. And it was supposed to ship in like June. And if you're into vinyl, if you're buying records right now, I'm holding up the vinyl if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify video or something. It didn't ship for like a month or so afterwards, and it's nobody's fault. It's just everybody's pressing vinyl right now, and I think the pressing plants are a little bit behind. So, kind of is what it is. But it was worth the wait, and I got one, and I got one for a buddy of mine as well. And so super stoked about that. If you haven't heard Turnstile Glow On, go check that out. However, I'm going to talk about two more records here in a minute that belong to our guest today. Guest on the show is David Ramirez, incredible alt country Americana singer-songwriter. He's from Austin, Texas. His album My Love is a Hurricane is one of my favorite albums that came out a few years ago. I think it was 2020. Just amazing. I talk about this record and my affection for it. Maybe a little too much on this episode. I don't know. I don't know if you could talk about records you love too much, but this record's awesome. I'm holding it up. Just picked it up. And he's got a new album out, an EP called Rules and Regulations. And I didn't listen to it. I haven't listened to it yet. And here's why. It's been out for a while. I know I'm terrible at prepping for these things maybe, but here's the deal. I started listening through his catalog, just listening through some stuff. And I got to My Love's a Hurricane. It's my favorite. And I ended up listening to this record 3 times and running out of time and didn't get to listen to Rules and Regulations, which is the latest EP, and you should go listen to that too. I also have in my hands a copy of Backslider, which is a record that he released recently as well. This one was in 2021. And it's like a collection of hymns, and his voice and the way he plays acoustic guitar, just excellent. And so if you like that sort of thing, you should go check it out. I haven't even thrown these on. They just got here today. So as soon as I'm done with the show, I'm going to listen to My Love is a Hurricane, and it's going to be fantastic. You should go listen to it too. So David's stuff is really, really interesting, beautiful, honest, awesome. He's a fun guy. He lives in Austin, Texas, and doesn't eat a lot of barbecue, he tells me in this episode, which I don't know if I believe that or not, but he's super entertaining. I think you're going to love the conversation. Go follow him on social media. at David Ramirez on social media, and then davidramirezmusic.com is his website. Just go make sure you get in touch with him. If you never heard of him before, you should know about David Ramirez. He's fantastic. So go check out his music. Follow him on Instagram, social media at David Ramirez, and enjoy this conversation that I had with him. David, what's up, man? How are you?
Ali, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I saw you got a birthday coming up, huh?
Yes, I do. Next Friday, the 26th.
Nice, dude.
I don't know when this is airing, but yeah, August 26th is the B day.
Excellent. Looks like a big party. I saw you posting about it. What's that about?
Yeah, I mean, for my birthday, it's just a gift to myself to be able to hang out with all my friends on stage and swap tunes. We got this
awesome.
great outdoor venue here in town called the Far Out Lounge, and more often than not on my birthday it's torrential downpours. So we're going to see how the weather holds up next Friday, because it's an outdoor venue, but it's a very classic. If you know Austin from the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, it's a very classic Austin venue, and outdoors, massive patio and cool stage. And yeah, I mean, the gift I wanted to give myself was just have all the homies up there.
That's fantastic,
playing songs,
bro.
and jumping in on everybody else's music. So, yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
That's awesome, dude. You're gonna eat some good Austin, Texas barbecue?
Oh goodness, I only do the barbecue thing maybe twice a year, to be honest with you.
Oh, for real?
It puts me into a serious coma. I mean, it's nap time.
Yeah.
As much as I like taking naps, it's not like I'm trying to go get barbecue, once a week.
Yeah. Well, true story. True story,
Yeah.
dude. My friend, I have a friend named Jeremy, real close friend. He's a big fan of yours too. He's an Austin guy, Texas guy, Fort Worth guy originally, I think. And anyway, he always talks about the barbecue. And every time I end up in Texas with him, he ends up taking me to some barbecue place, puts me in a coma. So I feel
yeah, you got to go right back to the couch.
Yeah, totally. You're in Austin. Is that where you're from originally?
No, I've been here about 15 years. I'm originally from Houston.
Oh, nice. What part of Houston did you grow up in?
All over. I grew up very poor, so we were in and out of neighborhoods and apartments and rentals, all growing up until about 14, and then I kind of stayed put. So yeah, all throughout the city, and then I graduated high school out in the suburbs of Sugar Land.
Nice, man. I have some friends out there. You come from a musical family. Was that something that you grew up around?
No, it was all sports. Grew up playing baseball. From 8 years old all the way to through high school. But my senior year of high school, we moved to this new area town, and I was zoned to a different place. And the kids that I happened to sit down with in that cafeteria, they were all musicians and singers and actors, and it took a lot of convincing, but over time they got me to finally audition for these things, and doing so really changed my life. But no, that was not a part of my childhood. I think like most kids, your mother puts you in piano lessons whenever you're young because she wants her oldest son to be a pianist. But I wasn't really passionate about it until I met other people my age who were, pursuing life and the arts, and that's when it really clicked for me. Yeah.
What was the first music you remember hearing, and you went like, "Oh man, that's pretty cool"?
Well, I mean, I loved listening to music. My old man and I would listen to the radio and cruise around the car, and we had our favorite radio stations: 104.1 KRBE, 107.5 The Buzz. It was all alternative 90s music. And then in baseball, in the locker room, there was always hip hop or rock playing. So music wasn't foreign to me. It was just being in a culture where people were creating it on their own.
Sure.
So that was all new to me, because in my mind, before I had picked up guitar or met people who were writing their own songs, it was like, oh, music's on the radio, and that's not a thing that people do. That's just something that people on the radio do. the connect. I couldn't make the connection until I met kids who were, writing tunes and
Yeah.
playing them for people. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is how it all starts. Cool.
Were there songs on the radio hanging out with your pops and stuff that stuck out, like that you remember going, oh man, that's cool, or bands or anything you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember one of the high schools I attended, was quite a bit of drive away from our house. And so I was 14 and, my old man would drive me out there every morning. And, that was the same year that Fiona Apple's Tidal came out.
Oh man.
And we had to buy that record, on CD, a couple, 3 times cause we just wore it out. Yeah, I remember Fiona Apple really having a big influence on me. This just on my life. I just loved what she was doing. Cranberries were huge for me. Back in high school, I mean, Dave Matthews was massive.
Yeah.
We're talking about 90s music here. So Third Eye Blind was massive. I mean, basically anything that you would hear on the radio outside of like Fiona Apple, I was obsessed with.
Yeah, dude. It's funny you say Fiona Apple. I remember there was a show that was on the Sundance Network years ago. It was called Iconoclasts. And they would put 2 people from like not opposing, but like 2 people from sort of different worlds, but they were like icons in their right. And they would just put them together for like an hour or so and they'd have a conversation. And there was an episode that was in Austin and it was Quentin Tarantino and Fiona Apple. And they just had the most engaging, interesting conversation. I mean,
I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's crazy, man. I actually ended up like, this was back in the day. I guess you could still buy shows on like Apple, TV or whatever, but this was back when you could like buy shows on, I don't know, it must have been 10, 12 years ago that this came on Sundance. And there's some great episodes of that show, but I remember that in particular just being so engaging.
Wow. I'm going to have to look that up.
And she had just come off that record. It was like her comeback album. Oh my gosh.
Win the Pawn or Extraordinary Machine?
Extraordinary Machine. Yeah.
The green one.
Yeah. And she played a show outdoors in one of those Austin venues that you're describing, patio, outside,
Sure.
Cool stage, all that sort of stuff. And it was great deal. I haven't been to Austin since I was a kid. And so it was nice to watch that and kind of get the vibe a little bit. But
I'm going to have to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty dope, dude. There's some other great episodes of that too, but you'll vibe with that Austin one for sure.
No, I'm definitely a massive fan of hers, even still to this day. It was, she was a big one for me. And then, but when I started, meeting these folks and kids who were, writing and having their own bands, that's when I really started opening my mind to things that weren't just on the radio. I remember a good buddy of mine, Eddie, my senior year in high school, sat me down in his room. He's like, I'm going to show you this tune. And just before you hear it, it's like 6 minutes long and it's in 3 movements and each movement is completely different than the last and it's genius, and it was Radiohead Paranoid Android,
Oh man. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, on his bed. I'll never forget it. And it goes to the second movement. He's like, same song, bro. It's the same song, and then it goes to the third movement. And I was like, oh, damn, this is tight. He's like, same song, dude. Same tune. And I'm like, oh my God, same song, and, because, there was, on the radio, you're not finding people that are just stretching the boundaries like that, even to this day. And so that definitely took I took note of things like that a lot more and more whenever I started, I was introduced to a culture that allowed themselves freedom and creativity and whatnot.
What were those? What were the songs you started jamming on with that group of folks that you got together with and got you into music? Were you in a band with them?
Yeah, there was a band I was in, and the final semester of my senior year, we did start a band with some of our friends. But I don't think any of us really had the curiosity to pull off anything like Radiohead at that age. Most of us at that time were kind of all playing in the church, and so our musical vocabulary was kind of under that umbrella of just like a couple chords and like something catchy. But we had a lot of fun, and it was. I mean, it got me, more curious to be here now as an almost 39-year-old from, as a 17-year-old. So I'm thankful for it for sure. But no, we weren't really like crushing boundaries or like blowing minds. We were just having a good time and being kids. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. Do you remember some of the tunes you guys played?
Yeah, I mean, the first song I ever wrote was called "Far from Grace," which is that's the funny thing about the church. I'm no longer in it, but they make you feel guilty. Even as a 17-year-old kid, I felt like I was going straight to hell. I don't know how you can accomplish that, but they did. So most of the songs I was writing about how I wasn't good enough to get into heaven, but that was the first song I ever wrote was "Far from Grace," and I have been lucky enough when friends have asked that, get-togethers or whatever, if I remember it. And sometimes it does come back. I can't get through the whole thing, but I know how it starts, and I remember the chorus, and I remember a couple of really cheesy lines in the verses. But I guess it depends on how much wine I've had. But
are you a red or white guy?
It depends on the season. I mean, summertime when it's hot down here. I mean, in Georgia. When it's hot, it's give me that cold white or that rosé. For sure.
I feel you, dude. You remember what the first piece of music was that you bought with your own money and what format it was?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When I turned 10, my father gifted me a Walkman for my birthday. And but like I said, we didn't have a lot of cash growing up, so that was the B-Day gift, and I couldn't get like a brand new cassette tape. But he did give me the Cars' Greatest Hits.
Oh man,
that was one of his old cassettes. But I don't know, maybe a month went by, and I was saving up my quarters and whatnot, and he took me to the mall, and I bought MC Hammer's "Can't Touch This."
Yeah,
that was the first cassette I bought with my own allowance.
That's fantastic.
Oh yeah, I wore that thing out. Because everybody knows the classic tune, "You Can't Touch This." But the even as a 10-year-old, I got to tell you, I mean, because when my old man gave me that Cars' Greatest Hits, I mean, sure, all the rock songs are great and they're catchy and what a great pop band. But I mean, "Drive," "Who's Gonna Drive You Home" was my favorite tune, that ballad.
Oh man.
And then on MC Hammer's "Can't Touch This," my favorite ballad was "Have You Seen Her?"
Yeah.
Like even from a 10-year-old, I don't know what it was that's just in my DNA, but I was always just more, right out the gate, more attracted to the slower mid-tempo, just love or heart-wrenching tunes.
Yeah. It's
like
funny, I remember
like Cranberries. It wasn't "Zombie" for me. It was "Linger." It was like that was the song that I wanted to hear. Yeah.
I'm kind of similar, man. Like that was the first Cranberries song I remember. One of the first, not the first, but one of the first pieces of music I bought with my own money was Bobby Brown, "Don't Be Cruel." So not far off from Hammer, And there was a song on there called "Tenderoni" that was like the ballad on that record.
I'm gonna have to look that up. What a title, "Tenderoni."
Yeah, it was what it was,
Oh, dude, I'm not hating. That's
Bobby
great.
Brown, 87, 88, something like that. I got you by a few years, but I think I bought that, and like the same month or so, I bought "Hysteria," Def Leppard, and Guns N' Roses' "Appetite." So I was wide ranging,
Sure,
for fourth grade, fifth grade, or whatever I was.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
At the time, but those first few pieces of music that you buy, I feel like are some of the most pure that you engage with, because you're like, nah, I just like that, and the first like live stuff too that you see, I feel the same way about.
Yeah, no doubt.
You remember what your first live concert was? Or just hearing music live?
Yeah, this question comes up a lot, and it's got to be. I mean, honestly, I think it was the Houston Rodeo. And I had to have been maybe 8 years old, like the age where you're enjoying what's happening, but you're still like really annoying to bring to a show because you're not fully engaged, but you like it. And yeah, my parents took me to the Houston Rodeo, and we saw Alan Jackson, who was one of my mother's favorites. But the only song that I could really quote at that age was "Don't Rock the Jukebox." And it's funny, we were having this conversation the other day. I was probably just so over the top annoying to my folks at this show because I remember, tugging on their shirt the whole time. Is he going to play it yet? Is he going to play it? When is he going to play it? And they're like, I don't know when the hell he's going to play it. I don't know. Just here's your soda and your hot dog and shut up, watch the show, But I think that was my first, but I was a kid. I can't really recall too much about the gig, but I think the first memorable one was probably when I was a teenager, early teenager. And yeah, my old man took me to go see Bush.
Oh my gosh.
There in Houston. And that was a fun show for, a 15-year-old.
Yeah, man. That's
I had a good time.
Show.
There was a woman who got on her boyfriend and her husband's shoulders in front of us and flashed the band. And, my old man looked down at me and was like, don't tell your mother this happened or I'll never be able to take you out again,
Dude, the almost exact same thing happened. My first show was Poison and Slaughter, my 11th birthday.
Sick. Yeah.
And almost same thing happened. And my dad's like, yeah, hey, keep that between us.
Keep that between us. I don't want you walking in the front door and be like, Mom, guess what I saw? But
that's funny, man.
Yeah, maybe that secret set into my brain waves as to why I wanted to get in music. But that kind of rock and roll stuff doesn't really happen at a folk show. Or not a Ramirez folk show anyway.
You grew up in Houston, man, in the 90s. You saw Alan Jackson. That's like the heyday. I was talking about this with somebody else too. That's the heyday of country music, 90s country. Is that is that a thing? Yeah. Were you into it?
Oh, it was huge. I mean, when I cruised around, I mean, my parents are still together, but when I cruised around with my father when he was driving, because we'd only have one car or whatever. When he was driving, we'd go to the grocery store or whatever. It'd be, those 90s alternative rock stations. And when I was in the car with my mother, it'd be 90s country, and that was all she listened to. And so even to this day, I'm not really, I got mad respect for 90s country. And when it comes on, it does something to my heart for sure. But it's not something that I'm just straight up voluntarily throwing on the speakers. But it was definitely a huge part of my childhood because of my mother. But yeah, I mean, going to the Houston rodeo was a big thing for the family every year. We had family members who worked for the phone company and, they get season tickets or whatever because, it's just such a big part of Houston. And then my grandfather for the longest time worked for the, back in the day, there was the Houston Chronicle, which still exists, but there was also the Houston Post, and he worked in the pressing, warehouse of the Houston Post. And so they'd get tickets and we'd get to go see some pretty cool shows at the rodeo. And that's still kind of a tradition in the Ramirez household.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, but that 90s country, man, is no joke, especially at the rodeo. It's going to church. It's very sacred. It's a big deal.
Yeah, dude.
And,
there's players.
And when I find myself in those situations, I will definitely go to town on some barbecue for sure.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
It's a time and place.
Next time I'm in Austin, I'll hit you up, and I just need to know where to go.
Oh yeah. Well, I got a friend coming next week visiting me. We're going to work on a record next week here at my crib, but nice. And that's another time and place. So you got somebody visiting from out of town. Yeah, let's go stuff our faces.
Where do you take them? What's the spot?
Well, I don't really have a patience for waiting in long lines. And if I did, we'd go to Franklin Barbecue.
All right.
But since I don't, I just go to La Barbecue, which is on Cesar Chavez. And I mean, you can get in there with just a 30-minute wait and it's pretty chill. And it's next level, top tier, smoked brisket, ribs.
Yes.
The whole thing. Yeah, it's killer.
All right. I'm writing it down.
Is your mouth watering?
Yeah, dude. It's almost
you took a serious heavy pause there.
Yeah, dude. I'm feeling it. I got to eat, bro. Alan Jackson, you saw. Bush, you saw. You got a favorite show or a couple of shows that throughout your life you've been like, this one was amazing?
Oh, sure. I mean, I've seen Fiona twice, and that's always changed my life. I saw something recently. Oh, Friday I saw Father John Misty, and I've seen him a few times.
Nice.
That's always a great show. Oh yeah, it's questions like this that always get me. Lee, it's like it's gonna be funny.
It's only going to get harder from here, Dave.
Well, yeah, exactly. But no, it's nothing comes to mind. You and I are gonna hang up and end this podcast, and 2 hours is gonna go by. And I'm like, oh yeah, I saw, Nirvana when I was 6. Whatever. But just like the good ones, you don't remember when someone asks.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it.
But Radiohead is definitely a big one. I saw them out in London in Victoria Park on the In Rainbows tour, which was mind blowing. Yeah, it was really great. Yeah, I've seen some cool things. Yeah, definitely a lot of 90s. I saw Alanis Morisette in Venice, Italy. That was mind blowing.
Oh my gosh, were you on tour over there or something?
No, I was just on vacation, and
awesome.
they happened to be throwing this festival over there called the Heineken Festival, and she, along with the Police, were playing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly.
I saw Radiohead on the In Rainbows tour too, and I catch a little flack because I think In Rainbows is probably my favorite Radiohead record.
Who gives you flack for that?
Well, here's the deal. In the Radiohead canon, it's hard to put those things in order. But In Rainbows was like I graduated high school in 97.
Yeah.
So OK is awesome. Kid A is awesome. And I mean, I remember buying the CDs OK, I was a little late on, but I bought Kid A like the day it came out or around the time it came out.
Sure.
Same with Amnesiac and stuff. And those are awesome records. But for some reason, I saw the In Rainbows tour. So I think that highlights that record for me. I saw them in Tampa, and it was pretty amazing. And that record, I don't know, the songs in that record, the way that they're written, I feel like that record's probably the most consumable, like approachable Radiohead record.
Sure. Yeah. It's a pop record.
Yeah. So I end up throwing it on like naturally all the time because it doesn't require anything of me. I feel like there are records that like require things of you when you listen to them, like OK or Kid A, like I have to engage with that. That's not like easy listening,
Sure.
But the In Rainbows record feels like some of those records they're rich for sure, and beautiful and complex and all those things, but it doesn't require as much of you. It's just kind of gives to you. So I don't know. That's why I like it so much.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, there are definitely records like that. I mean, the latest Kendrick Lamar record is absolutely genius.
Yeah, dude.
But it's a hard one for me to just throw on in the car. When I listen to it, I want to sit down in my favorite chair down in my living room and turn it up and just sit and take it in. It's not a cruise around town and really, it's an art piece, and there are definitely albums like that for sure.
Yeah. Do you have other like current stuff that you're listening to right now that you're like, man, these are my 4 or 5 like records I'm into that are like just came out in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, something like that?
I mean, I know we're like really beating a dead horse with this Tom York thing, but he's in this new project called The Smile, and
yes, it's great.
And for the last, I don't know, month and a half, it's pretty much the only thing I've been putting on. Yeah, that one, the new Kendrick is killer, but that is a very intentional sit down and listen, like I'm watching a film or something. I think that's about it right now. I'm finally, for the first time in a very, very long time, finally getting back to thinking about my next record. So
nice, man.
So I haven't really been spending a lot of time with albums. When I jump in the car, I'm putting on that Smile record, and I'll throw in the Harry Styles album. And fortunately, we got some good radio. Too. Yeah, it's a good one. Unfortunately, we got good radio here in town, and so if I can't pick, I'll just put on KTX or Sun. But most of my time here at the house is just kind of. It's been a long time, but it's been neat to kind of just pick up the guitar and start fiddling around and try to come up with some new stories and just try to write again. Really.
Yeah, is that where you're at? You're just kind of writing for the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's fair to say what I'm doing is writing, but I'm trying to, mash the grapes a little bit and kind of see what comes through.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look forward to it. I love my Love is a Hurricane. Had a friend of mine, I honestly can't remember if it was my friend Wes or his sister, or another friend of mine, but somebody gave me, oh my gosh, dude, I just blanked. Your record that's black and white on the front, and you got the cigarette in your hand.
Apologies.
Yeah, Apologies. Gave me
Yeah.
Apologies, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So since then, Fables and My Love's a Hurricane and Backslider, and we were talking before we started recording, and I just picked up those on vinyl. So My Love is a Hurricane is going on. And if you're listening to this podcast and you have not heard David Ramirez, I don't see how you haven't. But if you haven't heard David Ramirez, if you haven't listened to the My Love is a Hurricane record in particular, that's my favorite. Hell, the song with I think it's Sir Thomas.
Sir Woman.
Sir Woman, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Sir Woman and Heaven is ironically both of those are favorite tracks of mine on there. Title track's killer. It's really, I was telling somebody the other day, I feel like you do an incredible job of I would call what you do, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would call what you do Americana, like alt country.
Sure.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, like that Apologies album you were mentioning is, I mean, definitely true to form, alt country, Americana, folk, things like that. Definitely. Yeah.
But I feel like My Love is a Hurricane, like there's synth parts and things that like push into like this alternative singer-songwriter thing that's just really different to me. That record was really, really special to me.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, me too. Yeah, we set out intentionally to make a left turn from anything I'd done before. And not because I dislike Americana or my previous records, but you do something for long enough, and in a way you get bored of it, and you want to push yourself and step out of the world in which you've lived for so long. And so we worked on My Love Is a Hurricane for 17 months, and
wow,
it was me and my buddy Jason Burt, the producer, and we wrote and tracked 17 songs, and we released 10 of them. But we spent a lot of time, if anything was too on the nose as this is too David Ramirez, then we didn't do it. It's not that we were trying to silence my voice, but if anything was just like, that sounds like this song that you've done before, then nah, we didn't do it. And that was really fun to step outside of myself and, just go down a different road. It was cool.
Yeah. Well, it's great, man. Is that why the 7 tunes didn't make the record? Did you just feel like they didn't belong, or they were too something you've done before or whatever?
Yeah, that and also once you work on something for that long, and I think this is the case for anybody. You work on something for that long, you start just naturally having your favorites, and the 6 or 7 that were just, oh yeah, those are like no-brainers. They're going on the record for sure. Once we had those like 7 that were no-brainers, the record had taken shape. Like the vibe was there. Yeah. And so we didn't want to ruin that vibe by just putting something out from left field. So, the remaining 3 or 4 that we had left to choose, it was pretty obvious what was going to, fill in those blanks. But yeah, and then, I just released a new EP earlier this year called Rules and Regulations, and there was a song that was written for My Love Is a Hurricane called Teach Me Your Language that didn't fit, and I just threw it on this EP because, it was just a better fit, and it's a cool tune. I didn't want it to get lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think any more of those songs will ever see the light of day?
I hope so. There's this one called Red Velvet Rope that's just this super cool disco tune.
Oh, nice.
It is just really, really neat. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to look for something that I can throw that in, because that needs to be heard. It's pretty sick.
Yeah. You should just release it, dude. Just put it out as a single, man.
Yeah, no doubt. We should go finish it. I need to go touch it up a little bit, but the meat is there, and it's pretty rad. So yeah, maybe we'll just go finish it and put it out.
Do it. You should do it.
Yeah, actually, thanks for saying that. You're putting a spark under me. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, good, man. Do you have a favorite piece of music that you've made that you go, oh, it was that record or that song, man? I don't know what it is, but that's my favorite thing I've ever made or been a part of making or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you mentioned Hell, because I mean, as far as the Ramirez catalog goes, that one's the furthest left turn, or the hardest left turn that I've taken, and that was such a fun track to put out. And when we finally get, recently I've been touring with the trio. That tune is hard to pull off without a pianist.
Sure.
But when we have like the full band intact, that is easily my favorite song to perform live. It's just the coolest and most groovy and funky and super sexy. So that was a great one. But I mean, the most recent is probably this, on Rules and Regulations. There's this song called "Can You Hear the Silence?" And right now, that's my favorite recording that I've been a part of in a minute.
That's awesome. I'm gonna confession. I pulled that over to listen to, and I ended up listening to "My Love Is a Hurricane" like 3 times in a row when I was like putting notes together the other day. And I honestly just never got to it. I was like, "Gosh, I love this record so much." Part of it is I feel like Hell fit. I mean, as a listener and a fan, I feel like it fits really awesome where it is on the record in particular.
Yeah.
But man, kudos to you and the producer. There's so much really musical space in the whole record. Like you hear everything. The piano sounds are just great. Like, man, I think that's why I listen to it. There's records, and I'd be interested to know what yours are, but like there's records that I just hear the record come on and it's so sonically pleasing. I'm just captured, you know, and I want to just listen. I feel that way about "My Love Is a Hurricane." There's like a couple Wilco albums I feel that way about, and old Ryan Adams albums, like Heartbreaker comes on, I hear them talking, and everything.
Sure.
And I'm in, but "My Love Is a Hurricane" is that way for me. You got records that are just like sonically, you're like, I'm in.
Oh yeah. Hurricane is, it's just lush and powerful and big, but I totally agree with you. It is extremely spacious. And, I mean, it was recorded really well at Modern Electric in Dallas, Texas. All the gear and Jason and all the engineers, assistant engineer, everyone just did a bang up job.
Yeah.
But then to follow up, it was mixed by the best wizard in the business, Matt Pence. And we had a lot of really great convos about his direction. And then he just went for it, and it was done in like a week, and I couldn't believe it. It was just magic, because there's a lot going on, and I think that's really hard to find a place for everything, and he just did it just masterfully.
Man, it literally sounds like at times like drums, bass, and I know, the way the production flows and everything, but drums, bass, and pianos just stick out to me on that record. Like you could do it as a trio if you had drums, bass, piano, like Hell and that stuff. That would be a killer show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have records like that you think of when I say like, oh, that record just sounds great and you just love listening to it because it's like sonically awesome?
Yeah, for sure. What were we listening to the other day? Oh yeah, a buddy of mine, we pulled out Pink Floyd, "Wish You Were Here."
Oh yeah.
And yes. Just those synths are so lush and fat and full, and then his Gilmore's guitar is just so stupid badass.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just never get tired of it. And even though that intro is 7 minutes long before a single word is spoken, it's like, I'm in. This has me hooked,
Yeah. I feel that way about Cure albums too. Long intros that hook me.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Arcade Fire's done it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the reason why we did "My Love Is a Hurricane" in the way we did it, is when Bert and I were talking about records that really, really grabbed me. There wasn't a single album that I said that was Americana or folk or anything. Everything is just this rock and roll or indie rock or pop albums, because they play around with a lot more different sounds than just an acoustic guitar, a banjo, or, it's just a lot more. I don't know if it's experimental. It's just fun and exciting and cinematic, I think is the word I'm looking for.
You think you'll do the same thing on the record you're working on?
I'll approach it in the same way, but it'll be different. there's a little bug in me, I think, that's been trying to get out for 20 years or so. And I need to do a proper rock and roll album.
Yes. Please.
And I think with what's going on with the world right now, there's just a lot of angst out there, and I'd like to be able to, put mine out.
Yeah, we need your contribution of angst.
For sure. Contribution of angst. Hell, I might even call a record that.
Yeah, come on, dude. I love it, man. I love it. It'll just cost you one ticket to a show.
There you go. Well, I'll get you two. You and your little boy can come out. Yeah.
Nice. We'll do it, dude. All right. Here's the clincher.
Okay.
You got 3 desert island records. What are your David Ramirez 3 top albums of all time? And listen, I know this is confusing. It's best to like subcategorize it, not like 3 influence, not 3, that the world thinks is best ever, like your favorite 3 albums of all time.
Well, they'd honestly have to be, and I do like these questions because first off, they're impossible. And secondly, they change depending on the day or the season.
Yeah.
And so since you and I have been able to talk quite a lot about albums, it's all, you asked me about first cassette and things like that. Yeah. I think Cars Greatest Hits would have to be on there.
Nice.
Cause that was the first cassette I ever had. I think, Fiona Apple's Title would have to be on there.
Nice.
Because that's when I was kind of coming into, my own as an individual. And then, you're talking about piano and stuff. And then you got me thinking about my parents. And when how old was I? I was living in Nashville in 2007. Oh God, it was so long ago. Was that 15 years ago? Yeah, geez. All right. So maybe I was like in my mid-20s and I wanted to buy my parents a record player because they didn't have one. So for Christmas, I got them a record player, just a cheap one from Target, that has the speakers built in. And then I went to Grimey's record store and I bought, a couple new vinyl that I really liked, but then a couple old ones that I'd heard them talking about through the years. One of those vinyl was Billy Joel, The Stranger. And I had never listened to Billy Joel, The Stranger, but it was used so that there was no plastic on it. So it was one of the used ones that I could pull out and listen to before I gave it to him for Christmas. And that one just got me hooked. But yeah, so I guess my three desert island picks today are directly influenced by my parents and my childhood. Yeah, so it's the Cars Greatest Hits, it's Fiona Apple Title, and Billy Joel, The Stranger.
Excellent. Dude,
How'd
I appreciate
you.
Did
I pass?
You did awesome. I appreciate you digging in like that. You did it fast, man, too. Yeah, that's and confidently. I feel like that question. I did an episode of this podcast a few weeks ago where I talked about my 10 favorite albums of all time. Bro, I've been like messing with that list for like a year.
Oh, sure.
Here that, and it's still like there's a record that'll fall off and one that'll come back on and whatever. All that sort of stuff. It's so hard, but I love that, dude. What a great list.
All right, right on.
Well, man, hey, I appreciate all the time, David. Yeah, I appreciate all the time, bro. This was fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, when are we gonna be able to hear this thing live?
It will come out Friday the 19th, tomorrow, the day after we're recording. So,
oh man, fast.
Yeah, it'll be out, man. We don't waste time. Fast. We like to be current around here at MyFi.
I like that. Well, in that case, if you got any listeners in the Texas area, my birthday show is next Friday the 26th. You'll come hang.
Yeah, you should go. Austin, Texas. What's the venue?
The Far Out Lounge.
The Far Out Lounge, Austin, Texas. Go hang out with David Ramirez for his birthday party. It's going to be amazing. If you've never heard David's music, at David Ramirez on Instagram, you should go to davidramirezmusic.com. Check out all his stuff. I've mentioned this record several times while we've been talking. My Love is a Hurricane is just fantastic. Backslider's great. Apologies is awesome. Like, there's not a record that you've made that has not elevated, I think, in your career, been the stepping stone that was just mind blowingly next. And so,
Well,
man, I'm
thanks a
looking
lot.
forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next thing. Next time you're on tour, y'all check out. I know you just finished a long tour, but we're looking forward to the next one. And man, y'all follow David, listen to his music, check him out. Awesome guy, awesome music. Looking for the next record, man. I appreciate the time, David. You have a great one.
Thanks, Lee. You too.
What a great conversation with David Ramirez, man. What a great dude. I love songwriters who just come off so sincere. He's just such a sincere guy. Great conversation. Hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank David, thank his manager, Fabian. Appreciate you guys being on the show and working that out. It was awesome. I want to thank our sponsor, Wonder Creations Embroidery. You can follow them on Instagram. We're doing a little hat giveaway I mentioned earlier with them. We got these great black logo MyFi hats. We sold out of them in less than 24 hours. So the last one that I have, we're doing a little giveaway with Wonder Creations Embroidery. You can go over to at MyFi Podcast on Instagram, and there's a post pinned at the top. Just go to that post. It'll tell you how to enter and how to get your chance to win the hat. So we're going to let it roll for a few more days, and then we'll announce the winner. I can't remember, early next week or something like that. And we'll let you know. So go enter the giveaway and go follow us on social, subscribe to the podcast, rate and review on Apple if you don't mind. And remember to go follow David Ramirez at David Ramirez on Instagram as well. And his website is davidramirezmusic.com. Again, My Love is a Hurricane. Incredible record. Go listen to that. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Till then, have a good one.